So I think most, okay, I just got to close this. Hold on. Continue. Okay, thank you. So I just want to say, for the people that don't know who I am, my name is Isabell Souliere, and I'm a Missinabie First Nation member, and I work for Natural Resources Canada as the Indigenous Community Liaison. And I was asked to do a presentation today by my colleagues. And this is the last one that we're going to do until September. So this is the 8th one. And so how I'm going to start is I'm going to start with an opening prayer and comment. I didn't have time to find someone to do the opening prayer, so I'm just going to opt in to do it myself. And if you want to have a smudge, go ahead and get it ready. I'm just getting mine ready. I'm also going to provide, as well as the prayer, I'll do a comment as well. I'm going to start off with a comment first, just because of our circumstances that we're going through right now with, you know, what's happening in the world. So for myself, this has been the most difficult month for myself as an Indigenous person working as an Indigenous community liaison for Natural Resources Canada. I could not bring myself to include myself in celebrations on the Indigenous Day or Indigenous Month during work. I'm still in mourning, and so are many people today for the children that were recovered from the unmarked graves as the numbers continue to rise. And I cannot bring myself to celebrate Canada Day as well, but I never really did before. So I'm just going to start my prayer now. Just having my feather here. Just going to show you the smudge. It's right here. Okay. Wache, Ani, Gichimanatu, Gajamanado. I'd like to honor the survivors today and families that have been also impacted through the intergenerational trauma, and the ancestors, and for the children's spirits who are set free now. I ask for healing to come to all the families, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, who are being impacted by the truth being unburied. Please let the people learning of this today to feel in their heart to have compassion and understanding during this time, and to help the people heal in their heart, and that you may bring comfort to the families directly impacted. Miigwech. I'm also going to make a comment just in regards to that. So all the stuff that's been happening, I think a lot of people are wanting to talk about, ask questions, and it's difficult for a lot of us to answer. So for us, it's like our own children, and most could not imagine something like this happening to their own children, having graves at public schools. It's better to not ask questions and to let the people talk, to release their pain and suffering and emotions that you go through when you have a death in your family. This may come out in anger and bitterness, but please do not try to judge anyone for their behavior during this time of mourning. And I think that's really important right now. It's just so that we can all get through what we're going through as Indigenous people today. Okay, I guess I can start, and then I'm going to start my presentation, and then we'll do a 15-minute Q&A at the end. Let's get my thing here. Okay, so on slide 1, I'll just go to slide 1 here, sorry. Okay, here we go. Oops, gotta go back. Okay, so this is just some of the pictures of a lot of the plants that I collect myself, and I harvest myself and prepare them but I also teach whoever I can that comes across my path, like, um, family, or I'll do workshops, I'll do tea workshops. I'll just start transferring some of the knowledge that I have picked up. Um, and you can see a lot of them here. You know, there's some bearberry, Labrador tea, like the sweet fern, sage, blueberry. This here's ash, the brown one with the teacup. So that's just a lot that a little bit of what the land has to offer that I utilize. So how are the herbicides impacting our land and our people? We're being impacted culturally, socially, ceremonially. We have health impacts, and our food security is threatened in our hunting. I'm going to go more into that later on in the slides on each caption there. So also when we talk about the less food for our animals, such as bears, partridge, rabbits, etc., that kind of is what we see. This is what's happening on the land, and we are seeing it. The moose and birds are leaving the area, and that's kind of a concern, like the bears, if their food's not there, they start coming to go to different food sources. Okay, slide 3. Then I just wanted to show you this picture here because I just wanted to show this is some of our band members and people that are trying to live off the land. Not this little girl right now at the moment, but the man on the left and the other lady on the right. She's a family member. You can see we look alike, but she's taking her time meticulously um, breaking up the seeds that she has there. But I'll show you another screen afterwards of the process of it. And so it's a serious thing here that, they want to live off the land, and they want to collect their medicines, and they want to collect their food to live healthy. So here are some of the explained here, the cultural impacts. We are not able to share our knowledge as much as we'd like to if the plant is not accessible. There's been times where I've wanted to take people out and to look for a certain plant, and it wasn't there. And we also have to look at how a lot of people are starting to regain their culture, and there might be only a small handful that do know a lot about the medicines, the plants, but we want to share that with each other. And if we're being interrupted by the assimilation process, like I mentioned here, it just makes it very difficult for us to do that. Anyways, there's some of the uses, and I know David is probably having a hard time trying to find some birch bark the size that he needs for the canoes. It's just because in the forestry industry, I find to see that a lot of jack pine is replacing a lot of the black spruce and other trees that we need, the birch bark, just, that variety that we had. Some of the social impacts, and I always notice it because I take people out, is you almost feel embarrassed that you have to take them out, and that you're in an area that's close to a logging area that's been totally desecrated. It's just not a good feeling inside, and you kind of want to try and avoid those areas, but it's getting more difficult for myself to do that in my area, in my traditional territory. Okay, I'm just going to go to next one, slide 4. Ceremonial impacts. So yes, that's another thing that I've noticed is when we have ceremony, people are coming out of fast, we like to present food to them, strawberries, blueberries, you know, natural food, fish. And if we can't, it just looks funny when you're going to, uh, you hear about someone going to that are coming out of fast, but like I ran into one of the people from the island and he was buying lots of strawberries at the grocery store and told me what he was doing, and I just felt a strange feeling like we should be able to go collect this stuff on the land, not have to rely on the grocery store. So we also use that for food offerings when we are going hunting, when we are honoring our people, honoring, the creator. For things that we gather, we do these food offerings. We honor the animals as well. And the feasts, we have teas. We have a lot of the fruits that we like to present during the feasts if we can. If not, we end up buying the store bought. And we use the plants for ceremony, for healing, and make the teas out of them and have specific directions for people that need healing. We'll make a medicine. If we can't find that medicine because the area is being sprayed, then it's going to get more and more difficult for us to do those ceremonies. Okay. The health impacts. This is a big one. When I did this one here, um, just our traditional diet is something that we should be following nowadays, and it's very difficult to follow if you're not able to find the plants, or you're not able to find the proper food, or the food is contaminated by like we're told not to eat certain organs, but those are some of the things that we want to eat, that the elders eat, that is the healthiest for us, is the organs. And so that's been kind of like changed because of spraying and forestry. So when we're not following our traditional diets, this leads to obesity and diabetes. People are buying more store-bought food if they can't get food on the land, processed food. They're relying on fortified products. Fortified products are just like when they add vitamin C to milk or other products. So it's just not natural. The produce in the grocery stores are chemically treated with herbicides and pesticides. You can't wash it off either, is what I heard. It's in the plant, it's in the berry, and there's no washing it off. So that leads to allergies, asthma, and cancer in a lot of people today. And a lot of people are finding organic, or myself anyways, expensive to purchase. I think I already said that about the fortified foods. Okay, I'm just going to move my chat thing up. Okay, here, here's this is Pino's grocery store the day before the lockdown, and I went to go shopping after work, and that's what I saw: empty shelves. So that is how I want you to try and visualize. That's what it's like when we're out in the bush. Sometimes it's just like we don't see what we want to, what we are used to seeing, and it's starting to look like that. Now this is the lady I was talking about earlier. She's actually my sister. So this is she's harvesting beaked hazelnut, and those little green ones there, they're not that easy to pick. They're kind of picky. There's like these little hairs in them, and so you have to specifically, you kind of have to wear gloves when you're wearing them, and then you have to take the husk off, and then it becomes that nut, and then you have to crack those, and then she roasted them. So it took a lot of time just to do this little small plate right there. And it's a serious thing for her, and she wants to continue harvesting what she can off the land. But what some of them are saying, her husband is saying, is that he doesn't see them as much as before. From when he was younger, there was a lot more, and it was one of their snacks. Okay, next one. So I mentioned before the disappearance of the plants in the picking areas due to logging and changes in the ecosystem. The plants are affected by the herbicide application, and there's also, you know, a fear of consuming those plants when we do pick them. Like, have they been tainted? You know, did the aerial spray come in that way? And are we going to be eating fruit that's contaminated? We don't like to eat them unless they're in a natural state, and when they're sprayed, they're not natural at all. The plants also become altered. My elder, Archie Nolan, said that he believed that the plant's DNA becomes changed once it's sprayed, and it's going to come back different. So also, I mentioned this throughout the entire presentation, that the berries are becoming more difficult to find, especially strawberries and blueberries and raspberries in my area. So there's a fear that sets into people when we are out on the land. When I'm teaching, sometimes people don't want to eat some of the medicines that I prepare. They're afraid of that it's been, you know, tainted in some way. They might not want to drink or smoke the medicine or use it topically. I collect a lot of the medicines for one of my sisters who makes a salve for it. So she's pretty picky about where I go pick, and to make sure I'm not picking in an area that's been, that has any threats to it. I mentioned this earlier about the bears starting to come out of the bush to find other sources. So when they do a spray and there's no blueberries, we're feeling it in town, or, you know, the bears start wandering. They can't find their food. So that knowledge of the plants is also becoming less and less shared, and for me, that's a fear that sets in within me, that we're going to lose it, and we've lost a lot already with not having that language, because the everything is in that language about the different fruits, the different animals that are connected to that fruit, that are connected to that plant. We lost that in some of the language, and I'm slowly starting to gain some of it back. And it's taking a long time to learn it, and it's harder to learn when you're older. So I'm not going to lie about this, but harassment is still happening to this day for myself. I've been in the bush where I've been picking and taking my niece out, and I've been stopped and asked, what am I doing there? And I'm actually in my own traditional territory. We have band members that are being harassed as well. Okay, next one. This is when last year I took out my a lot of people to go pick some medicines. I had some specific spots that had 3 or 4 different medicines. So I thought this one would be a good one, and I brought all the family. It was all women that came, and there wasn't any men that came that time. But this is a grandmother teaching her granddaughter how to prepare that medicine, and she just learned as well that day. So becoming, trying to become the role models that we should be, but we've been affected so badly by residential schools that, you know, we're just scrambling to get that back, and I will share as much as I can with people. And myself and the other lady in the presentation, she remembers chewing on plants when we were younger, because my father taught us some things. And I don't even know if he went to residential school, because he died and I never really talked to him about it. But he taught us some things, and I don't recall the name of the plants that I was chewing on, because I'm pretty young. But I was taught by my mother in a different way. When she was not feeling well, she would send me out to the field to go pick a certain plant, but I didn't know the plant, so I would just run back and forth. Is this it? Is it? And then she'd say, no, no, no. So that's how we started getting to know the plants. It's was her way of, the only way she could teach, because she wasn't feeling well at the time and she wanted me to go get that medicine to make her feel better. And I think I was pretty young. This is my, the younger ones I find are more eager to learn than the older ones, the youth, and that I'm having a hard time with. But this one here is on the left is my granddaughter, and we took her out in the bush with my son, and I managed to catch a picture of her. She was just really, really involved in what she was doing. When she left that day, she dressed like that herself. Just like when the middle picture, she looks like a little kokum, little old lady. She's listening to instructions by her mother, and her mother's telling her how to be for the day. So she's like listening really well. That's when she was younger. And then the other girl on the right, that's my great niece, and she's all happy that she's got these, she's learning this stuff, and she's happy. That's what I talk about when I talk about the social impacts. And then I'll show you what her father found, the little girl to the left with the basket, when I brought him out to pick. Okay, so I'm like kind of jumping all over the place, but it is getting difficult. The ecosystem is altered, and we're beginning to not trust the source. People have to worry about chemicals when we're out harvesting. That shouldn't be a thing. So we're entering sites. When we come across them, there's a sign, please, warning, recently sprayed, whatever pesticide use, stay out. So, we never used to run into that. It's just not welcoming anymore. It's kind of discouraging. So we want the main food source to be from the land and not to be sprayed with pesticides or herbicides. We want our natural food unaltered by any outside sources. Okay, so next one. So, oh, sorry, I gotta go back one. I just skipped. This one here was just a little, some traditional knowledge. Actually, in one of my oldest boy, he is in his 30s now, but he did this when he was 7 maybe. And I didn't realize it until I just read it again, that he is talking about traditional knowledge here. He talks about the lake, the location where he's at. He talks about the cabin and what is in that area. And then he talks about fishing and picking baits and picking blueberries. So, the children are the ones that we'll have to make this difference with. You can tell when they're younger, they learn quicker. So this is some Labrador tea and blueberry mixed together that I like to pick at. I'm not sure. I usually go back and check that area every year, and it looks like it's okay right now, but I don't know if they're going to spray, and I hope they don't. Over here in the middle is some field mint, and that's where I went to pick, brought some people to pick. It was a little late in the season, but it was still good. This one here is, if you can compare that tobacco pouch with that little tiny plant, that was when I went out with my son, with my granddaughter, to go look for wild leeks They're called wild onions too, but there was nothing, you couldn't see anything until he brushed away the leaves, and then that he was observing and developing a relationship with that plant by taking that picture of it and how tiny. He goes, oh yeah, I see it here. Look how tiny it is. And you couldn't even tell that they were underneath the leaf. So it starts in with your developing that relationship with the plants. Why were you laughing? Sorry, somebody's sitting beside me here. Okay, next one. So here's just another picture too. When I was trying to get my stuff ready to go have a workshop, and I took a few pictures of what I collected. So the knowledge keepers are finding it harder to maintain this knowledge because, you know, they're having problems sometimes going out on the land. Sometimes the roads are flooded from logging. And anyways, this is the next. I'm not watching the time, but this is my last slide. It's 11:30. Okay. So I just wanted to do a quote here. The only alternative is not to apply chemical herbicides and to stop changing the natural environment and to leave the natural plants and food alone and stop killing the plants. And that is my final message. But I will open the floor to Q&A questions.